Welcome into the CHGO Blackhawks Podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. Download the app and use promo code CHGO when you sign up. Welcome into Mailbag Thursday. Our sacks are a-bursting with your letters and queries and all that stuff. What? I don't know how you could possibly...
You didn't know that was coming?
How you could possibly take something dirty out of that.
The way that you emphasize the words.
Bursting?
Mailbag.
Mailbag. Our mail sack is bursting.
Our mailbag.
There's nothing bad there.
Bursting. Anyways.
Oh, now I hear it.
Yes.
Okay.
Get yourself
It's like when Tobias Funke recorded himself for a while. Who wants a banger in the mouth? Okay, welcome in. Make sure you like the YouTube video. We would appreciate that. Smash that like button, in fact. Give it a Randy Savage elbow drop off the top rope and do that for us. We would greatly appreciate that. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel as well. And on your podcast apps, subscribe. Just download all the podcast apps and subscribe to us on all of them. And we would greatly appreciate that.
All of your data.
We've already got a super chat from Michael. He says, mailbag time, woo. He paid $2 to say that, so we're going to say it for him.
All right.
Thank you, man. We appreciate that. And I know he's got a question coming up in the show as well. But before we get to the mailbag, and we got a lot to get to today, a little bit of news. We've got David Gust, who was sort of rumored for months to be getting an NHL deal, gets a deal.
Yeah.
And he has joined the team, so we'll probably get to see him play next game. There was also
that's more or less a paper transaction, right?
No, they called him up.
They recall him.
But as so that he could go back and forth, right? Or is he with the team?
I don't know.
We'll find out. I read it as with the team, but I don't know.
I mean, they do need an extra forward. They only have 12 forwards. So,
Okay, sure.
I don't know.
Yeah, why
I
not?
thought it was more of a paper transaction for like the waiver wire, how it works between the AHL and NHL. But maybe, hey, if he's actually with the team, even better.
And there was also a trade, if you missed it. It's a big one. The Blackhawks acquired Hunter Drew from the Anaheim Ducks for Josiah Slavin.
So
One for one. There's your big trade deadline blockbuster.
All you guys that have been in here for the last 3 weeks screaming, when are the trades going to happen? You got your damn trades.
There you go.
You got your damn trades. Josiah Slavin.
The trade deadline show is now ruined.
Yes.
What are we going to do?
And I don't know. I'm not even going to tell my Valpo joke. It was a dud. Never mind.
I liked it. So what is my whole thing was like, what was the purpose of this trade? I don't really understand. I don't know. It's another forward for a forward. They're both minor leaguers. Like, all right.
Yeah.
It seems like it's a minor league deal. And Slavin, I think there was a future for him with the organization at one point in time, but he hasn't really played at the same level that we saw last season where he had an opportunity to play a couple of games this year with Rockford. And I don't know, could he work himself up into an NHL roster in like a fourth line penalty killing role? Sure. If he wasn't going to do it with this Blackhawks team, I don't know where it was going to go with Chicago. He's definitely one of the more high character players in the organization, not just with the Ice Hogs, but in the organization. So, I mean, he's a really good kid. So I can't imagine it's anything, fueled by that. But maybe just not gonna work, not gonna fit with the team moving forward. And Hunter Drew, sure,
he plays hockey.
He does. He plays two positions.
Yes, he plays right wing and defense. So
the old John Scott.
Big penalty minute guy, 92 penalty minutes in 44 games.
So he's a face puncher.
Maybe looking to add some toughness ahead of the AHL playoffs. But sure.
Yeah, Slavin, I still think can be an effective NHL fourth liner. He's a really good penalty killer. I think he's got the most shorthanded goals in the AHL the past 2 seasons. But with the change of regime, our current general manager has different things he's looking for in players than the past general manager did. And one of the biggest detriments to Slavin's game is his skating ability. Not the fastest guy, not the best skater. And we obviously have seen that Kyle Davidson, man, if you're not fast, you can't skate, you can't play at a high pace, he doesn't have much time for you
Yeah.
right now. So that I think, I'm not saying Hunter Drew is, a top 5 NHL skater.
He's not
like Sam
replacing
Lafferty.
him and being
Right.
like
But
oh,
it's
what's
just
his
a
future?
thing where like, hey, you know what?
Why not?
You're probably not going to make a move here. Let's get you in a situation where maybe you have a better shot. It's hey, we're going to help you out here. Maybe I don't know. It's
two teams.
I think we've talked enough about it.
two teams.
We've already.
Two
Probably
teams
giving
in
it
the
more than
bottom.
it's worth.
Two teams in the bottom 3 of the NHL swapping minor league players.
Yeah, I mean it is what it is.
Yeah.
And we've literally given the most thought about it than any show in the history of the world.
All right.
All right,
Done.
There you
Drop
go,
it.
guys.
Minor league trade. David Gus, by the way, signs a 2-year deal, 2-way contract, $762,500 salary cap hit when he's in the NHL. So
Yeah.
It's really
There you
cool
go.
that it's a 2-year deal. I would have figured they would have just signed him to a 1-year deal.
I think they reward him for being the Ice Hogs' leading scorer.
Yeah, for sure.
Now they know that he'll be back with the Ice Hogs next year, and it's a some
least.
little continuity, from year to year in the AHL is not a bad thing because there's going to be a lot of new faces down there. So a guy like Gus coming back after hopefully a very deep, successful playoff run could be that guy that when the new guys come in next year could be that leader, showing that he could. I wouldn't be with Garrett Mitchell. He's out. He's been the captain the last couple of years. He's been out with an injury. I don't know if he's coming back. Maybe Gus is the Ice Hogs captain next year.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is more of a reward. Hey, you've been killing it. You've been
Yeah.
a great player, a great example down in the AHL. Let's reward you with a little security, an NHL deal, and then we'll call you up and let you get a game or
Play
two.
a couple games, yeah.
He was a very important player for the Wolves last year in their playoff run. When you look at his overall stats, they weren't great in the regular season because he was playing third, fourth line with the Wolves because they had an extremely deep team last year. But when the playoffs came, he excelled. He was a really good player for them there. So, and now he's with the Ice Hogs. He's playing on their top line, and he's got a career high in goals, assists, and points. It's a nice little reward for the Oaklawn, Illinois native, in case you haven't heard.
Yeah.
just like me.
Yes.
Oaklawn or Orland
That's-
Park?
Oaklawn.
Oaklawn?
Is it Oaklawn or is it Orland Park? I don't know. It's one of them
It
south
could-
old suburbs
Yeah, could be either one.
that I'm unfamiliar with.
And hey, he's, a friendly face, familiar face to play with Lucas Reichel at the Blackhawks next season.
There you go.
Orland Park native.
Orland
Oh,
Park.
Orland
well.
Park. There you go.
Oaklawn, Orland
Well,
Park.
he can afford to play hockey, so yeah, probably Orland Park. So there you go.
What's-
Whatever, close enough.
He's
We probably been to the same Chipotle once or twice.
yeah,
Sure.
He's definitely had a drink in a Mount Greenwood bar before.
Oh, who hasn't? That's for damn sure. Had a woman once lick Adam Burrish's face at an event at the Dubliner in Mount Greenwood or Beverly, whatever that is. It was a very crowded bar event, and a woman walked up to Adam Burrish and licked his face and left pretzels, like pretzel residue on his cheek.
And they've been happily married for 7 years.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
So, hey, the Dubliner is one of Mount Greenwood's finest. I don't know if it's Beverly, Mount Greenwood, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's the same thing.
It's
where the
two-
police live.
Other side, two sides of the same street.
Yeah, basically, same thing. All right, why don't we start getting to our mailbag questions? Corey mentioned, have we talked about the Zaitsev trade yet? We did for much of the show last night, and I'm sure it will come up again here, so stay tuned. Corey will get your query answered as well. What do we got first, Steven?
Well, I was going to do a David Gus question, but I don't think we want that now, do we?
What's the question?
Oh, maybe
Is
we
he
do.
the next Patrick Kane?
No, this works. 2 girls, 1 puck. Says, do you think a trade is imminent with the Blackhawks signing and calling up David Gus today? Also, who the heck is David Gus? We answered the second part. I don't know. I probably wouldn't read that much into it. I mean, certainly trades are coming.
Yes. Trades are imminent.
Even if it's not Patrick Kane, we know there's several Blackhawks players that could be and probably will be moved. So I just don't think it specifically signals something's going to happen right now.
Yeah.
I think if that was the case, they would probably just have done it afterwards.
I think Davidson's getting his ducks in a row. So when the
Yeah.
trades do start coming, he's got guys he can readily call up and plug in.
Yeah. Yeah, the Gus getting an NHL deal is something that I think has been just kind of on the back burner this season because he's deserved it the way he's played in Rockford. So it happening now, I don't think is indicating that it's it's a move. It's a domino that's going to make any other trades come through. I think it's just something that Davidson probably was just like, oh, check this off. You know, when you get a to-do list, and you're like, oh, these things are easy. I'll just knock this out of the way and not have to think about it anymore.
Well, I can't do numbers 1 through 7 right now, so let's just
yeah, exactly.
and cover my ass for when I actually need a guy with a pulse to get out there and play 18 minutes.
Yeah. So not necessarily, but maybe, you know, look, anything can happen at any moment. Like the Zaitsev thing came out of nowhere, and this is
before a game.
Yeah, this is an MO of Kyle Davidson where not a lot of stuff gets out that the Hawks are going to, like, think about the moves he's made. The only thing that really had like a foreshadowing to it was the DeBrincat trade. We all kind of knew that was probably going to happen at the draft.
Yeah.
But aside from that, like, a lot of the moves he's made have kind of come out of nowhere seemingly. So we're all reading the same rumor sites, and Saravalli and Friedman and LeBrun, and everyone's kind of got the same names, but there's things happening that we have no idea about. Because I know Zaitsev came up way earlier this year.
As just kind of like a throw around.
Yeah.
Like, oh, maybe they do this.
Right.
And, yeah, it came to fruition. Yeah, and there's so many moving pieces and so much flexibility that a team like Chicago has, that things like that, like, that were not even, like, on the main radar, or like, oh, this could happen, and it just doesn't get a lot of publicity, and it's just like, oh, yeah, well, remember when we talked about that? Now it's happening. Like, there's just a lot of flexibility that this Blackhawks team has not really had when it comes to, you know, trade deadline stuff and all this. So it's a different feeling than in the last decade plus.
All right, what do we got next, Steven?
Next, we have a Jackson Stauber question.
Oh,
from
yeah.
Tanner
All
Pro.
right. From Tanner, says, would you send Stauber back to Rockford when Stalock comes back if you were Luke Richardson? Well,
Yes.
Luke doesn't do that. That's a Kyle Davidson move.
But yes.
Yes. You know, you've got your NHL goalies under contract. Let Stalock play. He's worked his way back. He's been good when he's been in. Yeah, I think you get Stauber back down there and get him in a regular rotation and call it a day. I think that's a no-brainer.
Nothing wrong with that at all.
I mean, he's too good.
Yeah.
I mean, he's playing really well, but he's an AHL goalie. He's if he's playing really well, put him back in Rockford and let him help that team out, because that's where a lot of the developmental focus is going to be. So go put him there.
Let's get one from the chat here. Reddy Edgemont says, I know people have said the Hawks should try and get Matthew Nyes from Toronto, but what about Nick Robertson? Any thoughts on if the Hawks should target him? Look, I
leave it to our
Nyes
Toronto
is
fan,
kind of a
Greg.
pipe dream. I don't think that's going to happen.
Nyes isn't happening
Hawks don't have anything that will pry Nyes away from them right now.
unless it's Patrick Kane, and I don't think
they're not
that's
doing
happening.
that. Nick Robertson, nice little player. Dude can't stay on the ice. He's constantly getting hurt. That's a problem. You know, for a while it was Nick Robertson was the Robertson brothers was the can't miss prospect.
Yeah.
Gee, wonder why one's in Dallas, one's in Toronto. Who's getting all the hype? And it turns out Jason is light years ahead of Nick right now.
Pretty good.
I mean, yeah, you can't. I'm not writing somebody off because of injuries. A lot of those have been, you know, just kind of like Kirby Doc. You know, wrong time, wrong. You know, they've been injuries that have occurred in hockey plays. Not that, you know, it's not like he's got brittle bones or something like that. But, you know, sometimes it's just guys just get that reputation and just have that bad luck where they can't stay healthy. And he hasn't shown me enough. If they're going to give him away. Sure.
Sure, yeah.
But I'm not giving up anything to acquire
We have any
him
more
right now.
futures to consider.
If they want to throw him in,
throw him their way.
you know, if they somehow still can pull off a Jake McCabe deal, I don't think that's going to happen. And they want to throw him in to a potential deal, maybe something at the draft if they're trying to clear some space.
Yeah.
I'm fine with adding him to a deal, but I'm not targeting him. There's other options out there.
Yeah.
Speaking of if McCabe were to go to Toronto, I was listening to the Daily Faceoff podcast today, and they were talking about Alex Kerfoot as someone who could possibly be on the move for the Leafs if they trade for a defenseman. That's a guy with some versatility, would probably thrive in a role with the Hawks where he'd be in an elevated role, unrestricted free agent after this year. But, you know, he's 28, not really young, but that's something to look for. They're going to have to clear some salary to make the move.
Yeah.
So
He's a guy that the Blackhawks take on, play here for 2 months and say, hey, if you want to stick around, here's a deal. If you want to test free agency, go for it.
Yeah.
We don't care either way. Like,
Right.
it just, I that's not really a guy that I would invest too much time in the future of for the team. If he wanted to come, if he was brought in, wanted to stick around and played well, then you found something for almost nothing.
Yeah.
Speaking of Doc, did you see the injury news about him today? So he's been out for a couple of days with what the Canadians were calling a non-COVID illness. And then today they released more information about it and said initially he was ruled out with a non-COVID illness, but further tests have shown that the symptoms he was I should actually read it, but it was something like the symptoms he was experiencing were discovered because of a different lower body injury that he had sustained. And it was, yes, your faces are correct. I had no idea what they were talking about. The press release came from, I think it was Eric Engels. I got to try and find it because it was...
Here, I'm looking at it here.
Yeah, it was really weird.
Here, all right. Doc was earlier diagnosed with a non-COVID related illness that has sidelined him since February 16th. Through the course of further medical evaluation and testing, it was determined that the illness-like symptoms were related to a lower body injury.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
Because I got
It's
hit. Because I got
super-
hit in the knee. My stomach hurt. Like I
Maybe
don't-
It's
maybe
really
like
weird.
a groin injury. Maybe I don't
Oof,
know. It could be
I don't know.
that made him feel like his tummy was upset. I have no. That is very strange.
It's very weird.
It's weird.
I don't think you sprain a knee and then all of a sudden get a whooping cough or anything like that.
I got the sniffles because I got hit in the junk.
Steven got injured working out. That's why you don't work out.
Yeah. The best
Do you have
thing
any
I could've
COVID?
thought.
Do you have any COVID
Yeah.
symptoms now because of it?
None yet, but we'll see. Maybe
All right.
next
Yeah.
week. We'll keep
Yeah,
that long.
I,
Yeah,
uh,
it's Doc a while.
That's very weird.
Add that another weird thing to the weird legacy of weird Kirby Doc.
Yeah.
If it was like a cut and it was a bacterial infection, that would make sense.
Yeah, but like,
This
oh,
doesn't.
I feel like I'm sick because I pulled a muscle in my ass.
Could
I
it
don't
be?
know.
Could it be? Could it potentially be like maybe he got a wound, like a skate cut him a little bit,
Yeah, I
or,
don't-
and then it
don't
got
know.
infected?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I have no
It's
idea.
very weird.
It's very. I saw that this afternoon. And it was just very like what the hell is
Oh
that
yeah,
talking
Brandon
about?
says maybe a gallbladder or something like that. That could be.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, an appendix.
I once watched Stefan Matteau play half of a Calder Cup final game with a lacerated kidney.
Hockey tough, my friend.
Yeah, hockey stupid.
Hockey dumb. It is the AHL playoffs after all. Come on.
And then he
you
was
gotta-
back 3 days later in a suit.
You gotta
course.
go for it.
All right.
So, yeah,
What do we got
Hopefully
next?
everything's fine with
Yeah,
Doc.
I mean, it's just
That's just very weird.
very weird.
This one from Corey Seacrest. I think it's Seacrest. What other deals can the Hawks make,
Seacrest.
like the trade to take on Nikita Zaitsev's cap? Are there any other teams out there that could be looking to shed salary and add something as a sweetener? Either way, it feels nice to be on the other side of this for once.
That's true.
Again, listening to Saravalli today, mentioned Kasperi Kapanen with the Penguins. They cannot activate Jan Ruda until they move some salary out.
You gotta have Jan
You
Ruda
gotta
if you want
have
to win a
Jan
Stanley
Ruda.
Cup. That's
Apparently they
two-time
think
Stanley.
so.
It's two-time Stanley Cup winner Jan Ruda.
That's true.
Yeah, it's
He wasn't there last year and they didn't win.
so
I don't think
Kapanen.
that's a coincidence.
He wasn't with. Yeah, he was with Tampa, right?
Yep.
For two of them.
The two cups.
There you go.
Kapanen has this year and next at $3.2 million. He's only 26, which is amazing. I feel like he's been playing
Played
forever.
for a dozen years.
He's got 20 points in 42 games.
Sure.
I mean that is a very that sort of thing. Like that team needs to move out salary, either to accommodate a trade or to activate someone they want to activate.
Too bad we just
Okay.
traded future considerations yesterday.
Yeah, I know.
He's got a
Only way
brother.
held on to them.
Fred consideration.
He's got a brother past considerations.
Young Dangle God says I'm buying a Kapanen jersey immediately if we trade for him. Don't do that.
Cool.
That's a bad investment.
It is. Spend your money however you want.
Kapanen and Reichel on the same line. I'll be like a flashback to 1987.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, exactly.
Perfect.
So that's one of the names to keep an eye on. But just, you can kind of figure it out. Like if you go cap friendly is a lot of fun to just kind of go around and experiment with.
It's very
And you look
friendly.
at teams who are looking to add at the deadline contenders that have expensive players that don't really contribute that much. And the one, I don't know if Calgary's looking to make a deal, but the one we've talked about all year for an example of that is Milan Lucic, who makes $5.25 million for the rest of this year, and he's not really providing much of value to the Calgary Flames. So is that another one you would say, all right, we'll take on your $5.25 million, give us a first-round pick, give us a second-round pick? Sure.
But is Calgary looking to move him, though? Because that seems like a team that actually likes him, likes having
Maybe.
him.
I don't know. It's just,
Yeah, I mean,
if they're looking to do something big,
Something like
there's
that.
they've been
guys
a
out there.
pretty big disappointment this year.
Florida, are they still in the situation where they
I
need to get
imagine
rid
they
of
haven't-
somebody?
They haven't made any trades,
Yeah.
so they got to be.
They got to get rid of somebody to activate, was it Duclair?
I think so.
Or Hornquist, or both of them? Might have been both of them.
I think both of them.
So that's another team.
and they're a team that might want to make some moves because they're back in a playoff spot right now.
And they have no first-round pick for the next, 4 years?
Yeah,
So,
they're
good
Bill
luck.
Zito, man. Woo.
So you look at their roster. I mean, Bobrovsky's the guy, but no, you're not taking on 3 more years at $10 million.
Can we take Gustav Forsling back?
That'd be nice.
Yeah, but $2.6 million.
It doesn't do much for them.
Yeah, it's the guys that make big money are still important parts of their team.
Yeah.
Well, too
You
bad.
know, so
Vegas is always looking to shed money. A guy
Do they
in the
have to now?
not now, but I'm saying for the off season.
Yeah.
At the draft, you could maybe get a high draft pick for taking Alex Martinez's contract. It's only got 1 more year. Hey, and we've already hoodwinked Vancouver once, getting that second round pick and Jason Dickinson for Riley Stillman because they needed to clear 2. If they're willing to give up a second round pick to clear $2 million in cap space, what would they give up to clear out that Ekman Larson contract? It's a bigger contract, much longer term, but man, if it's worth it, it's at least a conversation I have.
Elias Pettersson.
Yeah, we'll take
No.
the good Elias Patterson.
Yeah, the good one, yeah.
Ekman
Yeah.
Larson has 4 years left after this one at 7.26.
Good Lord.
He's only 31.
Really?
Yeah.
So you reach
Seems
the
like
cap
he's-
floor with him next year. He
Yeah.
plays. Maybe the year after that he plays, and you buy him out the last 2 years.
Sure.
You've got the cap space.
I've always liked him. I know he's not the player he used to be, but
No.
None of us are.
I enjoyed him in his time with the Coyotes.
Few names that are popping up in the chat. Mike Riley and Craig Smith out of Boston. Boston's looking to shed some money.
Yep.
There was one point in time where Mike Riley was going to be a free agent, and I thought, yeah, that would have been a really smart
He
pickup
was,
by the Blackhawks.
wasn't he a college? He was a college free agent, I believe, wasn't he originally?
Originally might have been, yeah.
I think that's his name popped up. I believe he originally signed with Minnesota, maybe, because he was a
I'd have to
Golden
look.
Gopher, I believe.
Didn't the Hawks already do a Craig Smith thing with Ottawa?
It was
Who's that
Zach
guy?
Smith.
Zach Smith. That was
Same
Zach
thing.
Smith.
Same
This
guy.
guy was good he was decent for a long time and then just sucks.
I think Zach Smith was honored during one of the TV timeouts for the game in Ottawa or something like that.
He was
I
a
saw-
big part
I
of
saw
that
that
team
on
for a long
Twitter.
time, but
Yeah.
just
if,
here
if-
was
if you play more than 300 games there,
You might get your number
you could
retired,
key to the
yeah.
city.
it's the Brett Connolly thing.
Right.
Hey,
yeah.
this guy's a multiple 20-goal scorer. You're like, is he on this team? Or is that the mannequin with the jersey on?
Yeah, right.
All right, so yeah, there's a lot of those sort of things,
flexibility
and
out there.
again, you never know. You never know. That the good news is that we know that Kyle Davidson's doing that work and thinking that way, and he's not dealing with the same 3 teams all the time, which is refreshing.
It is.
It's very refreshing. All right, let's do one more before we hit a timeout here real quick. This one's from Mike. He says, if Winnipeg needs a second or third line center, I heard from Elliot Freeman that Winnipeg would be willing to trade their prospects. I'm looking at Lambert if you retain money on Domi. No way.
You can look at them all you want.
No shot.
Mike, you're here. You're one of our regular listeners, regular tweeters. Stop aiming so high, my friend. They're not giving up Brad Lambert for Max Domi.
You just
Not
have to
on a
think,
rental.
if you were them, would you do that?
Right.
No,
Yeah,
you wouldn't.
exactly.
No.
No. I like it. If they offer you that, you take it. They're just never making that phone call.
No. But, I mean, yeah, that could be a team that looks at Max Domi as, hey, Jonathan Toews is not getting traded, so what's the next option with this team?
Where was Max Domi born?
Was it Winnipeg?
Oakland.
Winnipeg.
Oh,
You
damn
could
it.
only go play for your hometown team, and now
There
that
you go.
Jonathan Toews is off the table, get the other guy born in Winnipeg.
There you
Yeah,
go.
fine.
How much time did he spend in Winnipeg, though?
I don't know. When did his dad get traded from the Jets? I don't know.
I don't know.
Even though I keep calling him Ty, I'm not that familiar with
The Domi
the
legacy.
day-to-day doings of Ty's career. I just know
Yeah.
wherever he went, he punched you in the face.
Speaking of aiming high, let's address VMJR. He says if Kane goes to the Rangers, the S should be Kako, Lafreniere, and a first-round pick.
Sure.
And
can
trust
ask
me,
that. They
Kane
will-
will be back in the summer. So the Rangers are going to trade
Where's that Colin Blackwell gift?
Kako, Lafreniere, and a first to rent Patrick Kane for 3 months. No. That's not going to happen. You could talk maybe one of those guys, and it would be probably 1-for-1. Kako or Lafreniere for Kane.
And that's the deal?
It's going to be crap. It's going to
They're
be
not gonna
Kratz
get-
off.
No.
Lafreniere was a unquestioned number 1 pick a few years ago.
If they didn't give up any of those guys to get Tarasenko, they're not giving up any of those
Yeah.
guys to get Patrick Kane.
I
You
just
can
think
ask that, and then the last thing you will hear before I dial tone is Chris Jury laughing.
Yeah,
And then you will hear
right.
click.
We gotta
The phones click still?
We've been kind of saying it all year, but temper your expectations on the return. You're not gonna revitalize your franchise it's a rental of Patrick Kane. It is a 3-month rental of Patrick Kane. No team is going to abandon their complete future to rent anybody. Right? Like it's just not. It's unrealistic.
Maybe the hope for the Rangers on their side of things is Patrick Kane has now apparently multiple times mentioned our team as the team he wants to go to. Maybe the hope is that there's an extension with that. Then maybe you give up something a little bit more, but still, that's a former first-round pick or a former first overall pick, former second overall pick, and what would then be the better of their 2 picks this year. They're not doing that.
No, that's way too much to give up.
No, I
for
mean,
any rental.
If they offer you a first and Kraft's off, you take it and you run with it. You say thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
And
VMJR says, I hear you guys, but shoot high and see where it goes. You've got to negotiate in good faith.
right,
Chris Drury's going to be like, what? No. Like, don't waste my time with this.
Yeah.
right. You don't. It's
Let's have a realistic conversation.
yeah. You don't say, oh, I want 4 first round assets, and then you meet in the middle. And it's like, oh, okay, well, I got 2 and a B level thing. Like that's not how it works.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, especially at a trade deadline, you can't waste time going through crazy scenarios. So you start reasonably high, and the other guy starts reasonably low, and then you
meet in the middle.
then you get to where you probably both had an idea of anyway.
Yeah.
Should we take a little break here before we get to the next round of questions?
Sure,
I think we should.
that sounds good. Should I tell you guys about Foco?
No, that's next break.
You're ahead of ourselves.
Greg should tell us about
Oh, quiet.
Game Time.
Game Time. Have you heard of this Game Time
Nope.
place?
Tell me all about it.
It's the hottest new ticketing app, and it makes it easier than ever to score the best deals on tickets to sports, concerts, and shows.
Oh, shows too.
Shows too.
All right.
Can't forget
fees.
the shows. You ever dreamed of sitting in a seat you thought you never could? Maybe you love to sit right behind the penalty box so you can yell at whoever's sitting there and make them feel shame. Maybe you want to sit behind the bench and watch guys throw gloves to the equipment manager all night. Or you want to sit in the 200 level and get weighted on hand and foot like the king or queen you are. Well, you can do that with Game Time. And the biggest last-minute price drops can be found on the seats you thought you could never buy. You won't find a better deal this season on Blackhawks tickets. Game Time is created by the fans for the fans, and it guarantees the lowest price. If you find a lower price on the same seats on a different site, let them know. They will match it. If you love CHGO, and you wouldn't be watching us if you didn't, though there could be some hate watchers out there, then you'll love Game Time. The best way to support us is by buying your tickets through the link provided in the podcast description. So if you're watching right now on YouTube, first of all, thank you. Scroll down. You're going to see that giant thumbs up button. Smash that for us. Give us a like. We appreciate that. And then just below that, you'll see the link to buy your Blackhawks tickets. No matter where you're listening to today's episode, head to the description, click on that link, and join over 15 million people who have used Game Time to score the best seats to all your favorite events.
And DraftKings is the official sports betting partner of CHGO and All City, and it is the best place to place your sports wagers. It is a lot of fun. They've got those NBA no sweat same game parlays, Major League Baseball right around the corner. I put in all my season totals, all those sort of things this week. Those are I really like the long play okay, I have now 10 months to wait to see how this turns out.
Yeah.
Those are a lot of fun.
Yeah, nothing like getting disappointed over almost the course of an entire year.
Yeah, well, I did bet this year. I bet big odds that Notre Dame would win the national championship, and then they lost. Like, I don't know if it was their first game or second game. Like, well, that one's done. So much for that bet. That money's gone. But with it, you're betting like wins and you're betting home run totals and those sort of things. That lasts all year long, and it keeps you invested in the game all the time. So I love doing those sort of things. It says here in the ad copy to talk about money you've won lately. So I'm just going to skip that part. If anyone else wants to chime in.
I got nothing. My account's been at 0 since the Super Bowl.
I did okay during the Super Bowl.
All right, well, be better than us. Try to win some money.
All right.
See,
Lawrence won on the
Lawrence,
Hawks
want to
last
switch
night.
spots? Do the second half of the show? All right.
Download the app now and sign up with the code CHGO. New DraftKings customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. With code CHGO, minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See the show notes for details. And speaking of CHGO, you see I've got my hoodie on. Mario's got the new CHGO hockey crew neck.
I
wanna
washed
pick
it.
those up?
Don't worry.
He did wash it. He claims he walked by. It was a little ripe, I'm going to be honest. But he claims to have washed it. You can get those at chgolocker.com. And remember, everything at the CHGO Locker is 20% off when you are a diehard. So become a diehard. Go to allchgo.com to do that. And if you're not a diehard and you sign up to be a diehard, you're going to get a shirt or hat for free upon sign up.
Free.
And then you're going to save 20% in the locker and at all of our events and all that great stuff. So become a diehard. Support CHGO if you're here. You're clearly a big fan of what we do here. And your support keeps us going and keeps us paid and all that great stuff. So become a diehard at allchgo.com.
And, next Wednesday night, happy hour, Zoom happy hour with our diehards. So if you're a diehard, we're going to be chatting with you guys live, kind of a not the podcast form, but we're just going to kind of hang out in a virtual chat room and answer all your trade deadline questions and whatnot. So
Throw it back 2020 style.
if you want to be a part of that, become a diehard, and we'll see you on Wednesday night.
I want to answer Tyler's question in the chat. He says, I'm late, but do you guys think a bigger deal could take place today?
Yes.
This is what I love about trade deadline season. Because back before I was doing this stuff for a living, it was just non-stop refreshing, waiting for deals to happen, reading every little story about every little trade possibility. It is like dopamine, trade rumors, and when these little things pop, like I saw you put in the Slack, what was your favorite memory of the Josiah Slavin era? And that was the first I heard about the trade. I was chasing a friggin' puppy all over my house today.
Nice.
Who is learning to climb under couches and eat chairs, and it's really wonderful. So I missed it. But it's like, ooh, what happened? Is it part of a big trade? No, just a small one. But yeah, this time of year is so exciting. So, Tyler, I don't know if a trade's happening today. I don't think any of us do.
But there will definitely be a bigger trade than the Josiah Slavin trade. Yes.
I would say so.
That bar will be cleared.
Maybe not
Maybe not
today,
today.
maybe not tomorrow, but it will happen.
Yes, exactly. All right, let's pull up another one from.
Yeah, I can't believe it's taken this long. We've gone over a half hour without a Patrick Kane question, but here it is.
All right, should Domi and Kane be a package deal after last night's Dallas
I said
game?
that last night.
That's
yes.
from
Trade them together.
That's Lord of Thunder. All right, take it easy. You're not really the Lord of Thunder. I mean, I like that you're confident, but
It could be.
that's a bit of a Lord of Thunder. You can't call yourself the Lord of Thunder.
Why not? He just did.
Well,
Apparently, you can.
Believe
You
in
can call
yourself.
yourself whatever you want on the
Shoot your
internet.
shot, man.
I guess so. All right.
Ragging on our guy, the Lord of Thunder.
Well,
He's going to
the
strike you
problem
down.
with a package deal with Kane and Domi is
That's $13.5
it's a
million
lot of money. Yes, even if you're retaining
without retaining. But
I mean, you're going to retain on one of them at least. Sure, why not? Like, great if some team's going to blow you away. But to me, Dallas, I'm not super interested in dealing with Dallas because they don't have a first round pick this year.
Right.
So, nah.
Somebody mentioned in the chat, would you do Kane for Stankhoven straight up? I would.
Yeah, I would do
Dallas
that.
wouldn't.
yes, Dallas won't.
Dallas
think
won't,
Dallas
but
would.
I would. I totally would.
What if Dallas? I can't imagine this. That Patrick Kane wants to finish his career in Dallas. But what if they knew he was going to sign? If they had assurances he's going to resign, would they think about that? I still don't think so.
No, I still don't think so. I don't think you give
I
up.
don't know, like, how
Stankoven is what? Second in WHL scoring behind Bedard.
Yeah.
And look at Dallas's roster. They're having a nice season there, but Tyler Seguin, Jamie Benn, Joel Pavelski.
That's what I was going to say. That window's not open.
Ryan
for a while.
Suter.
Patrick Kane.
They're friggin' old.
Like, if they get Patrick Kane, you're not giving away one of your top offensive prospects for a guy that's on an already aging team. Like, it's not happening.
And show of hands here, who really believes the Dallas Stars are Stanley Cup contenders?
Not the way they've been playing right now.
They just lost to the Blackhawks, for Christ's sake.
That's a good point.
True.
They just blew a 3-0 lead at home to the Blackhawks. They're not winning
But
crap.
they're a good team. You know, Jason Robertson is one of the game's great young stars, and they've got some vets that still have some game. But to sign Patrick Kane long term for them doesn't make sense.
No.
Because that window is going to. They very much remind me of 16-17 Blackhawks. Like that is going to go and get ugly quick
Without the accomplishments.
Right, like if Tyler
Right,
Seguin loses a step, which he probably already has a little bit. Joe Pavelski's 55 years old as it is. Ryan Suter was the worst player on the ice last night, according to the Blue Line thingy.
Yeah, he was terrible.
He was at the bottom and it was way to the left.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the window isn't open for them. So, for them, they need to hang on.
Yeah, they're not
to
trading
their young
those
studs.
guys. They're
Yeah,
not for 3 months of Patrick Kane.
They
Not happening.
need Logan Stankoven.
Yeah.
Chris Dubiel says the West is wide open. Dallas to the Stanley Cup final would not be a shock. They have a goalie capable of carrying them. That's true. Ottinger is
The West is wide open,
series.
unless the Avs are healthy. Then good luck. Yeah, it is wide open. I'm not saying them making the Stanley Cup final would just be completely impossible, but just they're a team that could go on a run, but I just don't think they will.
They're going to be like the Rangers that lost in the 2014 final to the King,
Or the
Kings
Stars that
Hawks.
lost in the 2020 Cup final to Tampa.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah.
right. Like you're just
That
there,
team.
and thanks for showing up. But
They were that team 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And they yeah, sure, they could be that team again, but I don't see them. Sure, could they make a run, get to the Cup final? Absolutely. And once they're there, whoever comes out of the East will just throttle them in 5 games.
Yeah, likely.
It's probably going to happen no matter who comes out of the West, unless it's Colorado, a healthy Colorado.
we have a question from Cole Gross saying, "Did you see the Kevin Weeks tweet about Kane?"
It's essentially exactly
It's-
what
Yeah.
it said on NHL Network yesterday
And
about the
didn't he-
unicorn.
I feel like he tweeted that already too. I'll share it if you missed it. He says, "Keep an eye on." Having spoken with the great Patrick Kane's agent, Pat Brisson, I can share this from him. Quote, "Patrick Kane is a unicorn. The market for him isn't 2 or 3 clubs. Plenty of contender clubs are interested in him."
Right. But
I mean,
the problem is
color me
Kane
shocked
has
that-
to be interested in them.
Yes.
Right.
That's the key.
Color me shocked that an agent is calling his client a unicorn and that every team is interested in him.
Agent driving up the value of his player, so unheard of.
By the way, CAA is the Creative Artists Agency. It is like the biggest.
Everyone is their client.
So my buddy Mike is an agent for Wasserman, which he does. He like is a concert festival booker, but he works in LA. He's an agent too. They call the CAA offices the Death Star because it's like eyeball scans and like
Oh, wow.
multiple layers of security. Because you like walk in there and it's like, there's Jay-Z.
Right.
There's Lionel Messi. Like, it's just like, oh my God. It's like the biggest stars in the world are there all the time.
That'd be pretty cool.
Well, we drove by and it was like this giant black fortress. He's like, yep, that's the Death Star right there. It's cool. It's but yeah, that's the huge agency. But yeah, you're right. Like,
Can we
of
get our
course,
scanners in here?
retina scanners. I
Yeah.
don't
I
think
mean,
so.
fingerprint scanners.
That was a fun week when that worked.
Yeah.
Now we have a very, very secure security system.
Yeah, the door won't open.
that
No,
one
it lets you
will-
in. It just doesn't let you out. That's the
Well,
problem.
I'm talking about the one up here.
All right.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
We won't share it.
It's
You'll
very
never get in.
very sneaky security.
Never. All right, let's get a couple more here. I know we're talking too much.
Not us.
This one from God of Thunder again. Oh, Lord of Thunder. Sorry. Do the Blackhawks bring in some guys to bolster up the Ice Hawks for their playoff run, or does Rockford do that on their own? No, the Hawks would do that. That would be their. They would acquire players.
It depends. Rockford can do their own moves. If a guy's on an AHL contract, it's Rockford who trades him, not the Blackhawks.
Right, but I think that they are so invested in what's happening in Rockford.
Well, yeah.
that none of that happens without clearance.
They got to,
from,
they're
that
not free to make their own autonomous
right.
moves.
Yeah,
Right.
it would be
Yeah.
directed from the Blackhawks. Yeah.
Yeah, and Hunter Drew bolstered.
Bolster,
Clearly.
there,
bolster
done that.
mama.
Clearly. Yeah, I mean, I think Rockford is set up pretty well, but it doesn't hurt to get a guy who is kind of like a David Gust, like a guy who's had, long time played in the AHL and, can add something to a young roster. Like, nothing wrong with that.
They definitely
could do that.
They definitely took a page out of the Chicago Wolves playbook this season.
A little bit, yeah.
I mean, literally bringing in David Gust, but like Dylan Secure, bringing him back, bringing in, getting Adam Clendenning back. The Wolves have always traditionally brought in AHL veterans, NHL veterans, because they want to win every year.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if the Wolves had their own way, they would be an independent team, not with an affiliate, and they can just. If they had their way, they would bring in guys and have like the same team for like 6 years in a row.
Operate on
Like they
their
used to.
own, yeah.
Yeah, with the Steve Maltese days, those type of teams. They don't want to have an affiliation if they don't. They want to be their own independent
They don't
team.
have to be, yeah.
But yeah, so if they can bring in another AHL veteran, those are the guys that make the difference come playoff time. And if they want to make a deep run, sure, go see what's out there.
Maybe they get Alex Nylander back.
You could bring TJ Brennan back for 18th time.
Hey, there you go.
Is he still
How many we
playing?
got left?
We have 6 left.
Oh, damn. All right, let's
All right.
let's rifle through these here. All right, this one's from JD Treat. Again, you can't call yourself a treat.
What
I
if
call
that's
myself a
his name?
snack and my daughter cringes. The Kraken have been at a number of recent Hawks games. Number one, who do you think they're looking at, and what would the return look like for that player? I know for a fact that the Kraken were looking at Jonathan Toews.
Yeah, for a while it was Toews.
I did not check to see last game if the Kraken scouts were still there, but to me, that's the guy they had an eye on. Now, they're looking for center depth, someone to play third-line center. You could probably throw Max Domi into that conversation for Seattle.
Yeah, you could. Sam Lafferty could be a guy like that too. I don't see. I don't know the depth of Seattle as much as someone who's a little bit more familiar with them. But those are guys that obviously could bring a little bit to a team that's looking to make a push and try and take a little bit of the weight off of Matty Beniers as they go into a playoff push is probably a good idea. So maybe a guy like Domi who can play a little bit more minutes. Then I think Lafferty is more of a depth role center guy on a contender, whereas Domi can maybe play a couple more minutes than he can in higher pressure situations. So yeah, maybe Domi is the option for them there.
I saw an article from Jeff Baker today, who writes for the Seattle Times.
Former Cubs catcher?
Yes. And he mentioned them potentially trading Shane Wright.
That would be
Still?
stupid.
Yes.
Is that still a thing?
Did he also, in a separate article, say the Bears should trade Justin Fields?
It's very. I was like, really?
It's weird.
Like that? Okay. Hey, if that is on the table, Kyle Davidson should pick up the phone and say,
Absolutely.
"What can we do?
Yeah, make it
Would
work.
you trade a first-round pick this year to get Shane Wright? Like a first and a second to get Shane Wright?
I would trade Tampa's first.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I would do
yeah,
that in
I
a
would.
heartbeat.
That would be silly. Now, was that him saying that he
I
thinks
don't
they
think he thinks
should,
it's gonna happen,
or
but,
they're looking into doing that? That would be just dumb. Then why did you draft him?
I don't understand that.
Drafted him, didn't play him, stuck him in the minors.
He says the Kraken are
So it's such
unlikely
a
to deal
weird-
next summer's first-round pick, but do have 3 second-rounders stockpiled from which to form a trade package. Their best trade commodity might be last summer's number 4 overall selection, Shane Wright.
I just don't see that.
How do you just?
I mean, if you're going to trade for a guy that's got 2 or 3 years left, maybe. But
So he says making that trade would
Jeez.
require the Kraken landing more of a sure thing that could fast-forward the development process. Instead of waiting several seasons for Wright to blossom, the Kraken could deal him for an existing NHL player further along, such as Chikrin or Meyer, that can immediately help the Flower play an overall
Yeah,
offense.
so they're not just trying to offload him for.
No, right.
they're
But
not trading him for a rental. They're trading him for a guy that's an NHL player now for the next
Someone,
several years.
some guy in their mid-20s.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I see. I don't know. The Kraken is not a team that I'm like super, like crazy about trading with, only for the fact I don't know how much they're willing to give up. They're only in their second year of existence here.
Their prospects system can't be deep.
And even if it is, why are they're still trying to build this team? And don't let this successful 2/3 of a season get to your heads and think, hey, we've done it. We've arrived.
Yeah, the expansion blueprint, you really don't want to go with Vegas because it kind of worked for a little bit, but now it's like they're kind of hanging on thread by thread.
Yeah, Vegas is going to be really effing bad here in a couple of years.
Yeah.
Because all their top players are getting older. They're very expensive. And because they keep trying to make the big splashes, they've got no prospects. They've got very little draft capital. Mm-hmm. Don't go that way. Build your team from within. And, I don't see them giving up much. Now, if they want to say Shane Wright in a possible Chikrin deal or, one of these guys that's okay, sure, I wouldn't do it, but I'm not Ron Francis.
Yeah.
I just don't know why you would draft a kid at 4 if you're willing to trade him less than a year later.
Right. What is that guy? That's such a waste of a pick.
You should have drafted somebody else if you had all these doubts about Shane Wright.
Agree. Next. This one's from Aaron Schweitzer.
Gonna make fun of his name?
No.
Schweitcastle?
That's his name.
Schweitcastle.
Schweitcastle. Yeah, I like
Nice.
that.
I like that.
Can someone offer some insight on what to expect from Sam Renzel? All the focus has been on Korchinski and Nazar. I want to be excited about our third first-rounder from last year, too.
He is
the reason you're hearing more about those two versus Renzel is because Renzel was admittedly, when he was drafted, a project. It is a aim high ceiling, but not an assured kind of a thing. And he's further away than Nazar and Korchinski.
He is doing very well with the Waterloo Blackhawks in the USHL. I believe last check he was 10th or at least inside the top 10 of scoring for defensemen, which is really good to see. He's headed to the University of Minnesota, not a bad place to go to continue your development path. He played with Team USA at the World Junior A Challenge, in which Team USA won gold, and I believe he was either tied for the most points by a defenseman, something like that, or second on that team. He's a player who, he's very tall, very thin right now, so he's going to have some time to put on some muscle to get into more NHL ready shape. But he's a good skater, good offensively gifted guy. It's going to take some time for his full game to develop, but I think he's got a long runway to do that. Being that right now he's in the USHL, he'll be going to college, probably going to spend 2 seasons at least in college. I would kind of handicap it at. But he's someone that when he's ready, his development window, if everything goes to plan, he'll be ready to jump into the team when the team is also like, hey, we're ready to start contending for, long playoff runs and stuff. So he could be one of those guys that in 2 to 3 seasons we're talking about, like we are excited for Korchinski now. Renzel could be that guy that's like he's lit it up for 2 years at Minnesota. Now we're let's get a roster spot open for him. Let's get him in and let's let him run.
He is 11th overall in scoring for USHL defenseman with 25 points in 38 games.
He's a guy that if the Hawks only had that pick in the first round, they wouldn't have drafted him. They probably would have drafted more of of a sure thing, because he was their 3rd pick of the first round.
Yeah.
And you got Korchinski and you got Nazar. Let's take a guy that if we hit, it's going to be huge, but it's not going to be for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. It's going to be a while.
And while Mario gets ready to tell us about our friends at FOCO, I'm noticing we've got over almost 120 people in the chat.
Hey-o.
Awesome. But only 56 likes. That's like half. So while Mario tells us about FOCO,
Smash it.
Why don't we hit that like button and get those thumbs up rolling here?
If we get to 75, we'll get an extra spin next post game.
There you go. It's Saturday night, right? Sunday morning?
Saturday night.
Yeah.
Sunday morning.
Late Saturday night.
Yeah, right.
Hey, not to be TMI, but once I get done with this vocal read, my pants are bursting. Can I run to the bathroom when I'm done with this?
We're almost done.
All right.
Yeah, we only got about 5 minutes left. We got
You
the
don't want you to wet
CHGO
yourself.
podcast
We're getting booted for
Awesome.
your second show today.
Race against the clock. Love it. Hey, Chicago, you've already got the best coverage from your favorite teams, so get fitted now in the best sports gear around. Check out our friends FOCO. They've got you covered from Soldier Field to the living room, north side or south side, with hoodies, slippers, team signs, bobbleheads, and everything in between. You can get decked out like your favorite players with apparel from the leaders in sports merch and collectibles. That's FOCO, F-O-C-O. Looking for the perfect gift for the football fan in your life, FOCO's got you covered. Perfect gift for the hockey fan in your life, FOCO has also got you covered with hoodies to keep you warm when you're in the arena or outside near Lake Michigan. Those hoodies will keep you nice and toasty to fight that breeze. So check out FOCO.com or click the link in the description below. For all non-presale items, you can use the promo code CHGO, and you are going to get 10% off. Again, that's FOCO.com using the promo code CHGO.
All right, let's try to get 2 more in here, if we can, real quick, and then we'll wrap up and make way for the CHGO Sports Show. This one from Big Wags. He says, question for the mailbag: with a ton of money to spend in the offseason to get to the floor, what middle-of-the-road players could you see the Blackhawks targeting? I like guys like JT Compher or Tyler Bertuzzi, and, of course, King Hot Dog himself, Phil Kessel. Sure, any of those names are fine. Just don't cough in my face, Tyler Bertuzzi.
Yeah, I don't want nothing to do with Tyler Bertuzzi.
Tyler Bertuzzi is, I think teams that are looking to contend are trying to get him. I don't think he's going to be tossed away.
I just don't want to root for that guy.
Sure. JT Compher, Northbrook's own. That'd be fun. I don't see
Hey,
the
you got to play
Avalanche
for your
getting.
hometown team.
Yeah, I don't see the Avalanche getting rid of him, but maybe. I don't know. And Phil Kessel, yes, I love him.
How about James Van Riemsdyk?
Again? Sure.
Sure, but again,
James, not Trevor.
Is that not?
No, I just mean, again, we've talked to him about him before as far as.
I mean, he's a guy that if a contender is swung and missed on a couple of guys, they could try and get him.
Gustav Nyquist. I'm looking at guys who fit that Domi Athanasiou profile.
Yeah, Nyquist is a guy that's a flippable.
But
He's coming off an
Thomas
injury.
Tatar, basically the same player.
those guys are still playing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, just go through the list and look at guys who if you go, meh, that's kind of who they're probably going to be looking
That's
at.
your second line center next
There
year.
you go. There you
Right.
go.
All right, let's do one more so we can get out of here. Windy City Hockey says, if Taves retires due to his health, do you see him go to a front office route or a coaching route? That's a good question. I'm not sure. I maybe neither right away. I think that maybe he goes like the Brent Seabrook advisor role first and then works his way up through the coaching ranks. I don't think he's ready to jump into an NHL role right away.
He seems like a guy that would take some time away before coming back.
Yeah,
right.
He could do the Brian Campbell thing, be player development, and then have his best friend become GM and get an assistant GM. Get that bump up the ladder. But yeah, I mean, I think Jonathan Taves, if he wants to do something with this organization when he retires, they're going to say, okay.
Yeah. Whatever you want.
Whatever he wants
kiss
to
some
do.
babies and visit some suites and call it a day.
Team ambassador, go for it.
Speaking of calling it a day, we're going to do just that. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We always appreciate you. We are back tomorrow again at 2:30. We're remote tomorrow. We'll see what we come up with. Cool. Hopefully we get some news to talk about.
Do we have any mailbag questions left over for tomorrow?
We do have a couple.
All right. So if we didn't get to yours today,
Extra mailbag.
We'll try to do them tomorrow, possibly.
Something will happen.
Unless there's a major trade.
There you go. Major trade.
Major trade.
All right. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Thanks for smashing that like button on your way out. Do it if you haven't yet. We would appreciate that. And remember that we are presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. Download the app. Use promo code CHGO when you sign up. For Greg and Mario, who has to pee, I'm Jay. Thanks for listening and watching the CHGO Blackhawks Podcast.